ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुमिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी चारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पार्षदेशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So let us read. So all of you have to help me. I'll just give a comments. You have to read. व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धि एकः कुरुनन्दन बहुशाखा हि अनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो अव्यवसायिनः। Robert Kohler. Yeah. So read the translation. Can do that.
Translation: those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Purport.
Yeah.
A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyasa Yatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Shraddha Sabda Vishwash Kahe Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to the dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is the renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvam iti sa Mahatma su durlabhe. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to acting Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows: Yasya prasadad bhagavad prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dhyayan stuivam tasya yasastri shandam vande guru shri charanai rindam. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should, therefore, meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obediences unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul, beyond the conception of body, not theoretically, but practically. When there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities, one who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts.
Your reflection, Virat Prabhu. What are the important points in this?
For me, the important points was that in order to advance in Krishna consciousness, we really need a spiritual master. And not only do we need a spiritual master, but we need to follow him. So that's really important. And then we need to not just follow him theoretically, but follow him practically as well. And that was one of my reflections. My other reflection was the importance of having faith. So the importance of having unflinching faith in in Guru and in Krishna consciousness. Um,
Talks about the one should take the instruction of his spiritual master in life and soul.
right.
That is another very powerful point because but has to take something for him as a life and soul. People take earning money as life and soul. People take their family members as life and soul. So many things people keep taking as life and soul. But here, what is being told is one should take the instruction of the spiritual master as life and soul. That means that is the main priority of one's life. But we have so many other anxieties, so many other worries. Prabhupada, when he read this purport, and this gave a very deep impression in his mind. And he thought, I have to really take the instruction of my spiritual master in life. And see, Prabhupada did that also. Prabhupada fulfilled that. So that was amazing. So this is one of the favorite verse of Srila Prabhupada. And in fact, the favorite line of Srila Prabhupada, taking instruction as life and soul. And here, further, he's going to talk about Vyasayika versus Vedic Karma Kanda. So next verse is those who don't have that kind of Vyasayika intelligence, and they are more attached to the fruitive work. What happens to them? So satisfaction of the spiritual, accepting a spiritual master, satisfying a spiritual master, the secret of advancement, Krishna consciousness. Once you take the instruction of a spiritual master and the Lord as life and soul, that's the secret of advancement, Krishna consciousness. And every day we sing in the Mughal Arti this Guru Ashtaka verse every day. Next verse. Everybody can unmute and say, Yamima Pushpitam Vacham Vadantyavashpachitaha Vedavadharata Partha Nanyadasthiti Vedina Kamatmana Swargapara Janma Karma Phala Pradam Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Yogeshwarya Datim Prati. Translation.
Translation. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of Vedas, which recommend various fruit activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth, being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life. They say that there is nothing more than this. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karma Kanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven. where wine and women are available and the material opulence is very common. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotistostama sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices. And men with poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of Vedic wisdom. It is very difficult for such inexperienced persons to be situated in the determined action of Krishna consciousness. As fools are attached to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions, unenlightened men are similarly attracted by the heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment thereof. In the Karmakanda section of Vedas, it is said that Apama Somam Amrita Abhuma and Akshayam Have Chaturmasi Yagna Sukrutam Bhavati. In other words, those who performs the 4th month penances become eligible to drink the Somarasa beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have Somarasa to become strong and fit to enjoy sense gratifications. Such persons have no faith in liberation from material bondage, and they are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are generally sensual and they do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nandana Kanana, in which there is good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women and having a profuse supply of Somarasa wine. Such bodily happiness is certainly sensual. Therefore, there are those who are purely attached to such material temporary happiness as lords of the material world.
Yeah. So he's talking about those who are attached to sense gratification. For them, it will be very difficult to have determination. So this is one very important principle, that more you get into Bhoga Aishwarya Pasaktanam, more you get into Bhoga and Aishwarya, more you try to enjoy your senses, Indriya Rama, when you try to gratify your senses, enjoy your senses, the more Krishna consciousness becomes difficult for you. The more you remain simple and have no agenda of gratifying your senses or have heavenly enjoyment, better enjoyment, more you keep yourself simple that way and won't have the desire to serve Krishna without mixing sense gratification. The more Krishna consciousness becomes swift and easy. So you don't get determination or focus if you are trying to enjoy our senses. They're saying that. So the people who simply want to enjoy sense gratification, they have no faith in liberation from material bondage. They're very much attached to pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices and to rituals, karma kanda, and they want only heavenly pleasures of life. And so these are those who are purely attached to such material temporary happiness, the lords of the material world. So more you want to be lord of this world, more you want to enjoy this world, more you want to go to the heavenly planet, by performing karma kanda, Vedic rituals. If you're on that track, then Krishna consciousness becomes very difficult. I'm saying that men's school of knowledge is very much attached to every words of the Veda, that is karma kanda. Because karma kanda section of the Vedas talk about perform this ritual, perform this yajna, you can go to heavenly planets, you can enjoy this way, that way. Yeah, so this kind of sun-direction optimal life if you want, then you cannot have focus in devotional service. Yeah. So Yamimam Pushpitam Vacha. Next verse will come, Bhogeshwari Pusattam. But these are the men of small knowledge. They get attached to flowery words of the Vedas. Next verse we talk about such kind of attachment to Bhoga and Aishwarya will not help one. Bhogeshwarya Pasaktanam Taya Apartachetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadhavana Vidhiyate. Read the translation.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and those who are bewildered by such things. The resolute determination for the devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Purport. Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, the Nirukti, says Samyang Adiyate Smin Atma Tattva Yatmayam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is said to be in Samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in material sense enjoyments and bewildered by such temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy.
We have to keep our mind simple. More you look for material enjoyment, difficult for you to perform devotional service. So that's why it is said that Prabhupada would write many times, one should live this life in a renounced temperament. Renounced temperament means what? Like for example, you are in a bus or you're in a flight. So you don't want to, I mean, you're not there to enjoy your I mean, you'll be more happy to be at the exit gate, right? The intelligent person, because he knows anytime anything happens, exit gate is good because there you can immediately come out. Because it's the material world also is it's a horrible place. One should be willing to come out of this place. One should not be planning to settle here. Especially in the private bus in India, if you see the khata khach, it is filled, or local train, you can think. In Mumbai, some of you might have experience. Completely khata khach filled. So you actually would prefer to be near exit gate, so that immediately you can be out. but if you can, if you go so inside, trying to nicely enjoy the seat, then that much problem you also will have to come out also. If you get allured to have comfortable seat somewhere, inside, you may go for it, but it will be too tedious to come out. Same way, the material world when we are living, so we should be in renounced temperament. Always see the goal that I have to exit this material world. It's not the place to settle. So when we have this renounced temperament, then we don't look for unnecessary sense gratification. You can say, Hari, oh, I don't want. Sorry, sir. Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, Kavitam, everything you can say no easily, because these are all different traps. I'm not interested in all these things. I'm interested in going back to God. We have to consciously make this choice. The more you are attached to some gratification, you get busy, then you cannot get determination. Your focus gets diverted. Like Sugriva, when he had to help Lord Rama, for 5-6 months he forgot only because he got busy with sense gratification now. And Lakshmana had to come and shake him. Then he came to his senses. Sense gratification is the enemy. But if you're not very focused to avoid sense gratification, then you're for sense gratification. The determination for Krishna consciousness is not. And those who sincerely practice Krishna consciousness, avoid sense gratification, you can see they develop a lot of realization. They can hold the knowledge. Like other day I was discussing that it is a mandate to control our mind and senses. Then only we can hold knowledge. But if you indulge in some directions like pouring water in the fuel, so you have to be careful that we live life in a renounced temperament and not unnecessary. That's why simple living is the formula which Vedic life was teaching us. Simple living, high thinking. Keep your material life simple so that you have time for a spiritual life. Like all of you are able to give time for a spiritual life. That shows you have made priority. Like I see, Virat Prabhu, Kiran Mataji, many devotees here. They are always there. That means they have made it priority. If they are not able to if they are not making priority, that means they have to make some sacrifices also. Family might be asking for some commitment, job and all, many things may be there. But they are looking for seriously they're looking for going back to Godhead now. Oh yeah. So many lives we have lived in this world. No more further material world. No more further coming to this material world. No more material body. We want to go back to Godhead. This kind of thought process, when it comes and person starts giving priority to Krishna consciousness, very much keen to practice Krishna consciousness, chant 16 rounds, even read Gita, even get up in the morning, sleep early, do his sadhana well, do his services well, be cautious of Maya. This kind of alertness comes when you are having focus in Krishna consciousness. And that happens when you carefully avoid sense gratification. So it's very important. Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistrigunya Bhavajana, Nirdvanto Nitya Sattvasto, Yoga Kshimatma. Go ahead.
Translation: The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material natures. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport: All material activities involve actions and restrictions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Jignasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. As long as material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities, such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding pain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna.
So, the Vedas, basically the Karma Kanda section, is talking about mainly three modes of material nature. Basically, it's a still still giving some kind of material goals for people in general to fulfill. That's why people get into so many puja, so many archana, so many rituals for getting some kind of material gain. This puja, that yajna, this yajna. It's all karma kanda, which is not real spiritual life. Because it is still in the field of self gratification. And it is actually, it has the effect of bondage when it's still bound in this material world. When it's still bound in this material world. Somebody left. Praveen, Prashant, Virat. No. So, yeah. And living entities of a material world, they're struggling very hard. So, how to get rid of this material entanglements? What the Vedic teaching is teaching. So, people who are not interested, no, at all for liberation or for going back to Godhead, so at least they go for karma kanda. So that at least they're coming under the Vedic authority. That is the advantage. And that while doing karma kanda, they have some chanting the names of the Lord somewhere here and there. And gradually, after doing karma kanda for a long time, they will be frustrated because they'll see all the material boons, material life, material gains is not satisfying them. And when the person comes to that point, then he may look for Upanishads, those sections which is talking about liberation, transcendence. So those who have that sense of understanding that how this material life, material goals, material benefits, these are not actually satisfying me. He's still frustrated. So that such a person can actually that's why it's writing that When the activity of sankara in the Karmakanda chapter finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of Upanishads. So Arjuna is being told by the Lord from beginning only that you transcend these three modes of material nature, Karmakanda section, Vedas which are talking about all. So that's why we focus on Bhakti Shastras, that is directly talking about the essence of all transcendental life, devotional service. That's what we focus on. Vedas are very vast, but we don't spend time in reading Karma Kanda and doing Karma Kanda and all. Not even impersonal liberation. We are directly coming to Bhakti Shastra, which talks about the most essential and topmost perfection of every living entity. That is going back home, back to God, and engaging in devotional service of the Lord. That's why one shouldn't become attached to Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. Yeah. And he says that the material body exists. There are actions and reactions of the material modes which tolerate its dualities, happiness, distress, cold, warmth, gain, loss, all this we have to tolerate and focus on our devotional service. So you cannot avoid dualities when you are in this material world, in the material body. So the only formula Krishna says is tolerate and engage in devotional service. Because if you tolerate, then only you have energy to engage. If you don't tolerate, if you get busy in solving the dualities, oh, I'm poor and I want to be rich. Oh, I'm distressed, I have to become happy. Oh, I'm actually having loss, so I have to get a lot of profit. So like that, if you get busy in just counteracting the dualities, then our time is wasted. So one shouldn't too much spend time in just counteracting the dealing with dualities. Rather, one can tolerate and focus on devotional service. That is more important. Because some problem will continue in this world. Nobody can say there is no problem. But let us ask all of you. All of you have some or the other problem or not? What about you, Virat? Some problem is there. Whether physical, mental, family, anything, something, job related, anything. Praveen Prabhu, let us hear from devotees. Because this material world is designed like that. Everybody will be having some other problem always. You have any problems?
Yeah, bro. Yes. There
Okay.
are problems.
Let us hear from others. Prashant Prabhu, you? Robert Prabhu, any problems?
I'll say yes,
Uh,
life has a lot of problems.
Even now also, right? At this section of like this junction of
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
some problem is going on. Correct. Robert Prabhu?
Yeah, money is a problem.
Okay. Virat Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, there are some problems.
Yeah. So you can see, there is always some pain involved in this world. You cannot avoid. There's always some pain. There's always some kind of problem goes on in this world. If not problem, you may have some so-called distresses, some kind of happiness, comfortable life. Soon to get you problem again. Yeah, there may be moments when you feel like, oh, I'm only happy now. Nothing else is required because you got some very good news. You got some certain promotion. You got a job, big job. It apparently looks like you have solved all the problem. There is also duality because you have become too elated in some event of life. So that is another part of it is another side of the coin. And then the further misery, also will come like that. So these dualities will go on in life. So instead of focusing on so too much of happiness or pain, one should focus on devotional service. You're comfortable, okay, focus on devotion. Not comfortable, focus on devotional service. Tolerate pains and pleasures. That is what Krishna is teaching. Text 46. यावानार्थ उदपाने सर्वथा संप्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः. Read the translation.
All purpose served by small well can at once served by great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purpose of Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
Amazing, no? Yeah. So one has to know the purpose of the Vedas. Yes, purport.
The rituals and sacrifice mentioned in the Karmakanda division of Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15:15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna and the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The living entities are part and parcels of Krishna, therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. Aho bhata swarapa koto garyan yajjihvagre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapaste juhuhu sasnur arya brahmanachur nama granati yete. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of Vedas without being attached to the rituals only. And one must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purpose of Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic literature is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by great Vedic scholar Prakashananda Saraswati why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, and the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of the Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in the Vedic wisdom. And the author and the knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna, and the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism.
Can just reflect on it, Prabhu?
So we should not get attracted to the rituals only. And the Karmakanda division is for the gradual self-realization. So it's better to learn from the person who knows the purpose of all the Vedas, so that he can give proper direction. And in chanting the holy names of the Lord, it gives the ultimate understanding. So that is one.
Yeah. So, so that's why the highest Vedanta is one who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So the purpose of the Vedas is what? To revive our relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's the ultimate purpose for all the Vedic study. The purpose is to be able to revive one's original love for Krishna. And that is very much visible by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's why he's saying one who's taking pleasure in chanting Hare Krishna, he's the highest Vedantist because he's fulfilling the purpose of the Vedas. Correct, no? As you rightly said, the ritual sacrifices are meant for gradual development. But by Bhakti Shastras and by the guidance of spiritual master, one can very carefully, very swiftly progress in one's devotional service and revive one's relationship of love with the Lord. And it is also by chanting, this verse is very powerful. By chanting the holy name, although when we born in low family, he has surpassed all varieties of rituals, penances. It's considered it is already done. You know, taking holy places, bath in the holy place of pilgrimage, everything is considered to be is already done it. Somebody chanting the holy name of the Lord because he's already fulfilling the purpose of all the Vedic rituals and everything. So, the morning I was saying, no, that if you are chanting Hare Krishna, you are performing devotional service. No? You are, even though somebody may be new, he's way better, way higher than any great yogi and jnani also. Maybe doing a lot of austerities in the Himalayas and many lifetimes he might be doing all that. But a devotee who may be beginner in Krishna consciousness, is way high position, because he is more closer to the purpose of Vedas, because he's taken up chanting the holy name of the yoga. That's why I'm saying the best purpose of the Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord. कर्मण्यविधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भिरते संगोस्व कर्मणि. This is how to practice Nishkam Karma Yoga. Working without. Read the translation.
Could you scroll up? Translation. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Purport. There are three considerations here. Prescribed
In
duties.
this, just 1 minute. In this, 4 things are told. One thing is be responsible. That means you have a right to perform. It is called you have to be responsible in your duties. Not entitled to the fruits of action. That means detached from the fruits. You should not be. You should be detached from the results. Be responsible in your work. And actually, when you're responsible for your work, then usually what happens? You may become proud. That's why it says, never consider yourself the cause of results for activities. Don't consider you are the cause. You may be responsible, but don't consider yourself with the cause of your. Consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity. Because of you, the results are coming and all that. No, don't consider yourself to the cause of the results of the activity. So don't become proud. And it says you and you're not entitled to the fruits of action. That means be detached from the result. Be detached from the result. So 2 things. One thing to be responsible. And if then some fruits comes, then don't consider yourself to the cause of that result. That because of me it has come. That is not your. You cannot take credit. Don't take credit for it. So that means you should be not having pride. Don't take credit. And you're not entitled to the fruits of action. That means you should be detached from the fruits as well. So one thing is to be detached from the fruits. That is being detached. And second thing is, and if you get the result, don't become proud also. And third thing is, okay, now you don't have. Fourth thing is, okay, you're responsible, and you're not attached to the. You're responsible. You're not proud, and you're not attached to the fruits. But when you're not attached to the fruits, okay, you're not entitled to the fruits of action. You're not. You should not be attached. So that means, okay, then why should I work only? Because anyway, I should not look for fruits. No, don't be lazy. So he says, never be attached to not doing your duty also. So 4 things. Be responsible. Don't be proud. Be detached. And not being lazy. 4 things are told. Go ahead.
Purport. There are 3 considerations here. Prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of mental nature. Capricious work means actions without sanction of the authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or the sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into 3 subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions without desire for results. In action is action in mode of goodness. Work with results became the cause of bondage, therefore such work is not auspicious. So everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting, could you scroll up, bro? Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna.
Any reflection?
Yes, Prabhu. So duties, work one should do. Prescribed duties is usually classified into three types. I mean, the work is classified into three types. It's prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. The capricious work is work without sanction of authority. Inaction is not doing any work. So prescribed duties are the work related to the modes of nature. And again, in prescribed duties, there are three types of work, three divisions. One is routine work, emergency work, desired activities. Uh, so routine work we should do as an obligation, but we should not expect any uh, results from that. Then that action is a mode of goodness. So regarding Arjuna, so Lord is telling Arjuna to fight without attachment to the result, just act. You know? So Arjuna's non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. So basically, Lord is telling to act, but don't expect the result. Then that leads to path of liberation. That's
This point is very important. One should act without so disinterested, obligatory duties undoubtedly lead one to the path of perfection. So disinterested means renounced temperament. You don't have attachment in the result. You obligatory duty. Okay, you do it because you are supposed to do that duty, ordained by the Lord. Lord wants you to do it, and you are not having any consideration of gain or loss. The result you are not considering. So disinterested. So that kind of action is a path of liberation. And here Prabhupada is saying negative attachment also. That means non-participant attachment to non-participant in the battle is also another side of attachment. So this kind of attachment, positive or negative, is the cause of bondage. So one should not be attached to doing something, some duty, and one should not be attached to not doing also. So disinterested, obligatory duty that we should do. And not doing inaction is sinful. Just give up your duty. But supposed to do and don't do is sinful. So fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhya samoputva samatvam yogochate.
Translation. Perform your duty equiposed, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Purport. Krishna tells Arjuna that he should act in yoga. And what is that yoga? Yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever disturbing senses. And who is the Supreme? The Supreme is the Lord. And because he himself is telling Arjuna to fight, Arjuna has nothing to do with the results of the fight. Gain or victory are Krishna's concern. Arjuna is simply advised to act according to the dictation of Krishna. The following of Krishna's dictation is real yoga, and this is practiced in the process called Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness only can one give up the sense of proprietorship. One has to become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna. That is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, which alone can help one act in yoga. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and as such, he is participating in the Varnashrama Dharma institution. It is said in the Vishnu Purana that in the Varnashrama Dharma, the whole aim is to satisfy Vishnu. No one should satisfy himself, as is the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. So unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Indirectly, Arjuna was advised to act as Krishna told him.
Yes, reflection.
My reflection is that Lord Krishna gave another reason as to why Arjuna should fight and why he should fight without attachment to the result. And then he goes into more details and explains that he should abandon attachment to success and failure. And then he described that as being yoga. And I like the description of yoga, which is to be when you fix your mind to the supreme. And to do that, you have to control the ever disturbing senses. So that was my main reflection. Um, I also like that it says by Krishna consciousness one can only give up his sense of proprietorship, so like his ownership to the results. So by having controlling the senses, having a steady mind, going towards Krishna consciousness, then you can give up your sense of proprietorship, and then only then can you become the servant of Krishna or the servant of Krishna.
Servant of Krishna, this consciousness can help us to not have the sense of proprietorship.
Right.
What about this? This is also very nice, no?
Oh yeah.
It's Krishna's concern. It's not our concern. So we are only supposed to be concerned about doing our part. The result part, the gain of victory is all Krishna's concern, Krishna's part. So we are supposed to follow the dictations of the Lord. That is our part. It is also very nice. No one should satisfy himself. And the rule in the material world is that everybody is trying to satisfy himself. I'm saying no one should satisfy himself as the rule in the material world, but one should satisfy Krishna. Unless one satisfies Krishna, one cannot correctly observe the principles of nationality. And our advice to act as Krishna told. It's 41, 49. दूरेण यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगा धनंजय बुद्धो शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणा फलहेतवः.
Translation: O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their works are misers.
Yes, bro.
Purport: one who has actually come to understand one constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagement save working in Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruits of their own work, just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of the riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord.
This thing keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service. And then that conscious can surrender. So the abominable activity is what he considers as the activities of some gratification. Very inauspicious, because it leads to entanglement. What he says here, see, only misers desire to enjoy the fruits of their own work, just to be further entangled in material purpose. That's how that is abominable. So abominable means any activity which leads to bondage, material bondage. It's abominable. So by devotional service, you can be free from some gratificatory or fruitive work. You won't work in miserly way. So then you will always work for Krishna. Transcendental loving service to the Lord. That's why he says, yes, except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable, but they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth. Very powerful. So when we think that, oh, I'm giving food to poor, somebody is doing that philanthropic work without having understanding about Krishna consciousness. He doesn't have understanding of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he's the soul. He's doing some kind of material good work. That is abominable actually, because it will bind him to the cycle of birth and death. So, and then he said, one should never desire to be the cause of work. And everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for satisfaction of the Krishna. So, how can you do that? Because you are simply can simply desire to act on behalf of the Lord. So you are not the cause. So Lord who gives you all intelligence, gives you all energy, and he gives you the result. So you cannot take any credit for the result and even to be able to do that thing very successfully. So it's all Krishna who gives us the direction and empowerment. So one should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. So it should be Krishna conscious, one should work for satisfaction of Krishna. So if you are miser means there's different kapati, bala kapati, dhana kapati, buddhi kapati. Means if you don't utilize your talent, skills, money in Krishna consciousness, then you're doing kapat. So like if you don't get up in the morning at 4 a.m., sleep early, or don't engage in sadhana, that means you're not using your body in Krishna service properly. That is miserly. The morning you should get up and you should do sadhana. But we are still sleeping. That means we are miser. We are not utilizing our precious human energy for advancing Krishna consciousness. So that's how we become miser. Same way when we are not using our money in Krishna service, we are not giving charity for propagation of Krishna consciousness, then we are becoming dhana kapati. So money should have been used for Krishna service, but we are so attached that we don't want to give. Then we become dhana kapati. Same way bala kapati, you have energy, but you don't come for the temple. You don't sing, you don't dance, for the pleasure of the Lord. Don't use your hands and legs to do some service in the kitchen, in pot washing, anything of that kind. Bal kapati. You have energy, but you're not using it for Krishna service. So it's like one should spend all energy is working in Krishna consciousness. That will make one's life successful. So it should not be miserly. We have to employ our human energy in the service of the Lord. So our energy is limited, human life is limited. So time is passing very fast. So if you don't spend it for Krishna, you will by default spend it for Maya. The time will be over. And then if you see the balance sheet at the end of the life, then you'll see, oh, so much thing was spent for Maya and hardly was spent for Krishna. So then that is not very auspicious. So we have to see that how as our human life is over, we have spent more and more time and energy for Krishna Seva. Not our human energy should not be spoiled by it. And by default, I was saying the other devotee also that how generally we don't plan for our material. I mean, even if you don't plan much of our material life, still you keep doing. I mean, by default, material life gets planned. Nobody has to tell. No follow-up is required. People get into career, people get into job, people get married, people get children. There's no follow-up required. Material life, anyway, people are alert. But spiritual life, you have to really plan. Otherwise, people Don't do that much. Like money comes, naturally you will spend for yourself, for family, for this and that. But to give to temple, to give for some Krishna conscious cause, you need to plan. You need to consciously do it. Same way to come to temple, and to participate in kirtan and in classes, you have to give priority. Otherwise, if you don't plan it, it won't work. Seva also same thing. So for material life, you don't you by default anyway do very good justice. For spiritual life, you have to really consciously make some further steps, enhance our Krishna consciousness by giving more time and energy in Krishna's service, utilizing our time of human form in Krishna's service. So spiritual life, you have to. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to consciously plan. Text 50. Buddhi yukto jahati ha ube sukrita dushkate tasmad yoga yujyasva yoga kamasu pashanam. Translation. Others can also read. Because you are not ready.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Purport. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position.
Little slowly, you can read more. Little slowly.
Okay. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action.
So, if you are engaging in devotional service, you get rid of both pious and impious reactions. And that is the real art of doing work. So, and why we accumulate all these pious and impious results? Because we act not knowing our real constitutional position. But then we act for some gratification. We act for some kind of result. Then we get bound. So when we are acting without having knowledge of our real identity, without transcendental knowledge, without receiving transcendental knowledge, then by default we will act on material platform, because our consciousness will be material, and that will lead to material bondage. That's why it is so important to receive transcendental knowledge from his bona fide spiritual master, from the scriptures. Then one can act as per his constitutional position as servant of Krishna. But then only you can perform all those activities as an offering to Krishna. Until you don't know that you're a servant of Krishna and all these things are actually meant for Krishna, then how we are going to offer it? Then how can you make it in a Krishna conscious way? How can you make it a spiritual offering? So that's why it is important to receive this transcendental knowledge. So he's saying that because continuously ignorant of his real conscious position, that's why he gets into so many reactions, bad and good work, pious and impious reactions he gets. But ignorance can be removed by the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, that's what he's saying, which teaches one to surrender to Lord Krishna. So you read Gita, if you hear from one of your spiritual master, from senior Vaishnava, then you understand your real position as servant of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality in power. You are his part and parcel, and how you should work for his satisfaction. When you have this consciousness, then you become liberated from the chain of victimization, action, reaction, birth after birth. So Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, purifying process of resultant action. So only by acting Krishna consciousness one can be free from all reactions, because you are not responsible. You're like a cashier who just gives money, takes money, but he's not responsible. He gets his salary. Same way, devotee also acts for the pleasure of the Lord. So he is not responsible. So Arjuna is not responsible if so many people are getting killed, because he is acting on behalf of Krishna. So he won't get any sinful reaction. That's the point. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam taktva manishina jana bandha nirmukta padam gachanti ramayam. Translation.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. Purport. The liberated living entities belong to the place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samsasrita ye pada pallava plavam mahat padam punya yesho murare Bhavam buddhir vatsapadam param padam 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 yad vipudam natesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Mukunda or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikunta is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance, only less intelligent people try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands this real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and
Little
thus knows
slowly can it go? Little slowly can it?
okay. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikunta planets, where there is neither material, miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfer himself to the service of the Lord, at once become eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord.
Action.
Yes, Prabhu. So our natural position is actually we are servitor of the Lord, but sometimes so that we get carried away in such a way that we think, because Lord being the friend, we think we both are on same platform. Uh, so that won't let us, that kind of consciousness won't let us to do devotional service to the Lord. Once we understand how sublime the position of the Lord is, how he is the supreme, then it automatically make us perform devotional service to the Lord. At the same time, it make us to be the servitor of the Lord.
Yeah. And also, this material world verse is quoted from Bhagavatam. The material is a place of miseries, temporary place of misery, but the Kuntha is, there is no danger. Free from all material misery. And because, why it is because of ignorance. So we don't know that material is a miserable place. And so much of danger is there. So then we try to adjust in this world. We try to become happy. That is only because of ignorance. So he says very nicely, they do not know that no kind of material body anywhere in this material universe can give life without miseries. So you can be in India or America. Some of you might have thought, if I go to America, life will be chill. But do you find misery in America or not? What do you say? Is there some misery in America? No misery. Everybody can speak. Is it America Vasis are all free from all miseries? You have to speak. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, there are miseries.
Yeah. Others? What others say? What about Robert, Virat Prabhu, Prashant Prabhu, Kiran Mataji? What do you say? In America also there are miseries or not? There's birth, old age, disease, death, varieties of troubles. Is there or no? Nothing.
Yes, Prabhuji, they are definitely there.
Yeah. Okay. Less than India, more than India.
Birth, disease, old age, death, probably the same. But mental health miseries and things like that, maybe more than India.
Okay. Others can say something. Yes. Robert, Prashant Prabhu, Kiran Mata, you want to say? I'm not saying. I think that hopefully they're there. I'm not sure. Hmm. So this is there everywhere. See, the miseries of life, birth, old age is everywhere. So you cannot avoid. So if you're changing the situation, this material will not help. You have to go back to God alone. So as soon as the material body, you'll have material disease. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Buddhi Yoga. You only can go back.
Prabhu, misery is everywhere, whether it be India, it be America, everywhere. So, life is like that. What to do?
No, what to do means you have to perform devotion service and go back to God. Don't remain in this material world. Correct, no? You should not try to settle in this world. You should try to plan to go back to God, your spiritual world. So adjusting our life in this material world is not a solution. So wherever you go, if you have material body, you are in material world, you are always in material. No material situation is good situation. It's all bad only. The so-called people say, no, congratulations, you got this. Congratulations, you got that. Congratulations, you got this. There is nothing great about any achievement. Real congratulations is only when you go back to Godhead or you are making some advancement in Krishna consciousness. That should be congratulated. Yes, Virat, what is it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I thought Mataji's comment was really interesting and really important when she said what to do, because I think many people think that, like, oh, what to do? Like, we are here, we have to face these miseries and struggles. What else can we do? But then, like, what we read today really answers that question, like, what to do, because we learned from the reading today that there is something that we can do. We can remain aloof from the dualities of life. We can not be attached to the results of our work. And when we get happiness, we have to realize that it will also come with sadness. And when we get sadness, we have to realize that it is only fleeting. So I thought that was an interesting comment, because sometimes I think that as well. But then I really like push my brain and mind to think of like the teachings of the classes that I attend with you, and I think, actually, like, we can do something, and that helps,
Very
and
good
it,
point.
it teaches us what we can do, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm so helpless that I can't do anything. I feel like I have to live here in the same with the same behavior over and over again. I feel like it's with my free will that I can do something. Like, we are all here today, so we are doing something. So I I think we can do something.
Very interesting. Very nice. Very nice. Good. Actually, this is how we should have attitude towards in all our situations of life. We can always think, what can I do? What can I do? So many things will come, good, bad, some kind of terrible relationship issues happen sometimes. One feels so pained, unbearable pain sometimes when they get in relationship problems, because sometimes near and dear one may give you the more pain also. What can you do? You have to think. What can you do? So there's always some way to do, something to do. Not like they're hopeless, as Prabhu said, there's free will always. You can always do something in all situations of life. Maybe you can just chant Hare Krishna that time. Maybe you can read Gita, maybe you can do something which can be helping you into Krishna consciousness. So, and that's what Arjuna also asked, what to do. Arjuna was the same thing. He was confused what to do. Then he approached his Guru, Krishna. So you can also approach, if you are confused too much, you can approach the Guru, devotees, what to do Prabhu in this situation. So you can get some Krishna conscious guidance by that. So and the whole Bhagavad Gita is meant for that purpose, what to do. Arjuna is confused and what to do, he had that question. Good, thank you. You caught that line and made it a beautiful reflection. Very nice. Thank you, both of you. Yada te moho kalidam यदा ते मोह कलिलं बुद्धिर्वृत्तिरस्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य च श्रुतस्य च. Yes. Translation.
Translation: when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport: there are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced Brahmana. Sri Madhya Vrinda Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of devotees, says,
संध्यावनं भद्रम् अस्तु भवतो भो स्नानतुभ्यं नमो भो देवा पितरश्च तर्पणविदौ नाहं क्षमा शमयतां यत्र क्वापि निषद्य यादवकुलोत्तम यस्य सस्य कंसादृशा स्मारं स्मारम् अघं हरामि तत् फलं मन्ये किम् अन्येन मे.
for my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you, O demigods, O forefathers. Please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and therefore I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayers 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices, as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engage in rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Sabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads.
What do you understand from this? Very well.
I I think that the Papa went into further detail about comparing Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness with other forms of devotional practice like
Not devotional practice.
rituals and Vedic,
Not devotional practice. It may be some kind of
not
rituals.
devotional
Yeah, some kind of Vedic rites.
rituals.
Yeah. So basically, we are not like smartas. No? They're smarta brahmanas. They will be very particular about so many Vedic rituals, karma kanda, so many strict following of so many things. But devotee is not like that. Devotee, it's not that devotee doesn't follow, but like there may be many Vedic Vedas may talk about Chaturmas, so very strictly about certain things following. But we are not like too much into that. We take what is conducive for Krishna consciousness under the guidance of Guru. That must be accepted. We don't do such this vrata, that vrata. No, which we are only doing the upvas which is recommended by our spiritual master Vaishnavacharyas. But in scripture, sometimes many more things may be mentioned. So, if one has not understood that the purpose of Vedas to teach Krishna and engage in so many rituals, there is actually wasting time sitting in like that Yagya Brahmanas, no, who were engaging in so much of rituals. But when Krishna Balaram came, then they said, no, we cannot give you food. But yet, Yagya is not complete. But Vedic, the wives of those Yagya Brahmanas, when Krishna and Balaram, when Krishna Balaram sent his covered boys to go there and ask, immediately they gave so many, everything. They did not mind because they understood the purpose of all this, yagyas and everything is to satisfy the Lord. They were clear. So later, then Brahmanas realized on this. They were doing Dhikkar. They couldn't understand. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasasti nischala samadhavachala buddhi sada yogama vapsasi.
Translation: when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport: to say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. The highest perfection of self realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly in communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master.
Point is very nice. Krishna consciousness. One directly comes in communion with the Lord. He gets conclusive knowledge. So this kind of focus one gets Prabhu, where he is not tempted by any kind of proposal for self gratification, Krishna consciousness. It may be in the form of flowery language of Vedas to get something, or even Maya may propose so many varieties of self gratification, many opportunities. One should not, if one is getting more regulated, carried away, that means he's still not in Samadhi. Samadhi means such focus is required to go back to God. my only duty is to execute Krishna consciousness. So one doesn't get too much carried away by so many varieties of dharma and rituals. I mean, it's very focused. Next question. Arjuna vacha itata pragyasa ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava itata dhikim prabhasheta kimasi prajeta kim. So this here, Arjuna is asking the qualities of liberated soul. Now practicing this kind of Krishna consciousness, one will become liberated, one will become Jivan Mukta, one will become self-realized. So what are the qualities of such kind of people? Krishna is asking. Arjuna is asking. Yeah. So read the translation. Others can also read, those are not read till now. Anybody like to read?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I can read this verse. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk?
Go ahead, purport.
As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man. As a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as a diseased. Or as a learned man has his symptoms. Sorry about the background. So a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks, for speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly as a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of
Well-versed fool.
well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks, but as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow as stated below.
So how does he speak? What is language? How does he sit? How does he sit means how does he control his senses? How does he walk? How he engages his senses? How he engages his speech? And what are the characteristics of his speech? So everything is mentioned here. So Krishna will now answer about all these questions. What are the symptoms of his Sthita Pragya? What is his response in terms of his speech? And how he withdraws his senses, sitting, walking, how he engages his senses. Sense engagement is like walking. So he will speak about it. And Sthita Pragya responds to dualities. It's like a speech. How does he respond to the duality? Like speak is mean to do something, no? Speak. So what is your response? So response to dualities is like how does he speak? Like that, Krishna will answer. And so the sitting. Sitting means how does he sit means how does he control his senses? And walking means how does he engage himself? Like that. So speech is in terms of response to the realities. Sitting is controlling the senses. Walking is engaging the senses. So like that. Prabhupada explains very beautifully that how the person who is in Krishna conscious, he speaks only about Krishna. So the symptom is that he will be only Krishna conscious speech. He will have no other things unnecessary. Matters related to Krishna. So sometimes when we be talking about like say job or some family related thing, something, but he doesn't loses the sight of Krishna. Means everything is connected to Krishna. He doesn't loses his sight. So like today I was hearing morning about Prabhupada was talking so much about British and Scottish church scholars, so many things. So now it may look like, oh, directly it is not Krishna. It is Krishna because he has certain purpose to speak about all that. I was telling that how Britishers have spoiled Indian culture and how they made Indians feel that they're primitive, as if like they Darwin also was defeating that. How Darwin, he's telling that before people were not having anything. Now people have become intelligent. They are coming from primitive phase. Now advanced human beings are there. And Prabhupada making point that how then the scriptures are written so long time back. And now they're not having brain, how they're able to write them. So he may be describing a lot of details about it, but he has the clarity about why he's speaking. It's all connected to Krishna. Text 55. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmanyevatmana Tushta Sada Pragya Tuchate.
Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Purport: The Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas the person who who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped, but if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul also remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord.
Any reflection on this?
For me, I really like the detail about the use of mental concoction. So our desire for sense gratification comes from mental concoction, so it arises from within our own mind.
Mm.
Therefore we should and must have a free will to control our desire for sense gratification, whether to satisfy our senses and in which way to satisfy our senses. I also like that
Which way, or should not?
um in which way, meaning like we can satisfy them in Krishna's service. So like what we see, what we smell, what we touch, what we think about. So like I always try to push my sense gratification towards listening to a kirtan or listening to classes like as much as possible. So for me, this is like my ultimate sense gratification is my big pleasure.
So basically, one has to engage in Krishna consciousness. Then only he can not. Then he only will have that ability to not take shelter of mental concoction. So,
Right.
And mental concoction, nice thing. Prabhupada writes, Sarvan Partha Manogata. All the sun category desires, they are born out of mental concoction. It's a very beautiful point to consider. So there is no reality to it. His mind is only concocting. This way I'll become happy. That way I'll become happy. This I'll think I need. So it's all imaginary pursuits. No, mind is imagining. Mind is concocting. One should not take seriously his material desires. That's the point. desire for sense gratification should not be given so much of importance. One should ignore them and engage in Krishna consciousness. Then sense desire subside without extraneous effort. You can see also, sometimes mind is affected by some kind of mental conduct and desires. Get into seva. Go and wash pots, clean the kitchen. You become so freed. You feel so satisfied. Krishna consciousness works like that. Then you don't want to do. Then you lose that desire. Like in Alcohol Anonymous also they say this. They call them for the meeting. Then they engage in some positive discussions, and that's how they can avoid the lapse. Correct, Robert? They do, right? I get correct. They try to get them some kind of positive engagements, right? Taking shelter of higher power, they say. But here higher power is Krishna consciousness. Basically engaging Krishna. Robert, you're there? Yeah. He's there. So he remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as Sankara Sarta Dana. And then petty materialism, sense desire comes. He's not interested. So you get satisfaction. That's why it becomes easy for you not to take shelter of the metal world. So it will come and go. The desires may come and go, but you won't take shelter. Mind may still be concocting, but because you are engaging in devotional service, you are satisfied. दुःखेषु अनुद्विग्मना सुखेषु विगतस्पृहा वीतराग भया क्रोधा istada dhiramu uchyate. Praveen, like to read? One is not disturbed.
Who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries are related when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called sage of steady mind. Purport. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without becoming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. Nasasvirishir Yasya Matamna Binnim, Mahabharata Vanaparva. But the Stitadir Muni is mentioned herein by the Lord is different from an ordinary Muni. The Stitadir Muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prashanta Nihesha Mano Pradhanthara, or one who has surpassed the stage of mental speculation and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlava. He is called a Muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries by the grace of the Lord are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification.
Lord, able to render better service to the Lord. You skip one line.
Better service to the Lord, and for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active, and he is not influenced by the attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination.
Very beautiful, right? So he's talking about the speech. How does he respond to the dualities? So he remains undisturbed. And these points are very powerful that when in comfortable situation, he gives credit to the Lord. He thinks himself unworthy of happiness. And then when he's given some kind of and he's thinking that he's thanks the Lord and he feels grateful and able to render better service to the Lord. And when some kind of trouble is there, then he thinks that okay, this is because of my own past mistakes. The Lord has reduced it. And he continues to serve the Lord. He is not disturbed, he takes it both in a very positive spirit. He's not too elated. In comfortable situation, he doesn't forget the Lord. And in difficult situation, he does not become morose. And then he says, for the service of the Lord is always daring. Yeah, Prabhupada was so daring, right? At the age of 69, he left India, and nobody was in the favor that Prabhupada should leave in that age. Sumati Maharaj is saying, Swamiji will die. It's a cold country and no money, no shelter. He got heart attack also, but he was so daring. Prabhupada is writing, but he has lived also life like that. He is always daring and active, and not in some way attachment or aversion. So no, nothing for sense gratification. Detachment is absence of sensual attachment. So detachment, both he doesn't worry. He is worried about only service of the Lord. So, and when attempts are not successful, like Prabhupada also, not immediately got successful. They were not angry. He continued the service. Krishna was always steady in his determination, because this is the most auspicious thing to continue doing devotional service. Ultimately, you are successful only. Because Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan, you will have ultimate success for sure. Externally, sometimes maybe failure or success, that doesn't matter. But your engagement in Krishna consciousness itself is a great success. One should very much clearly know that. So our life is guaranteed. Like, what I mean to say that our Krishna consciousness is guaranteed. Like, as soon as you engage in Krishna conscious activity, you are already success. Your life is success automatically. Like that, are you engage in service of Lord Rama, is success. Whether he died or lived, it doesn't matter. यह सर्वत्राणि विस्तरतः प्राप्य शुभम अभिनंदति अद्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in the perfect knowledge. Purport. There was always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil, because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good absolute. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position, called technically samadhi.
Again, how does it respond to the dualities? Good, evil. So good happens, don't praise it. And evil happens, don't criticize. Generally, something good happens, we become very much happy. We start praising. And then when something bad happens, we start criticizing, blaming, complaining. So we should remain unaffected. Remain firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. That means one should know that these situations are temporary. That comes and goes. There is no much significance to my eternal soul, and has no significance to my devotional service. Continue devotional service. Uphill will be there in the material. So that is a test. Not remain agitated, not become agitated in the material goals, and remain fixed in our Krishna consciousness. Because that will happen. Even for great people also it will happen. Some good evil may come. But instead of getting affected, remain fixed and think of service to Krishna. How can I serve Krishna in this situation of life? Like that one should think. How can I serve Krishna best in this situation of life? Job is lost. Okay, how can I serve Krishna in this situation of life? Family members are cooperating. How can I serve Krishna? Family members are not cooperating. How can I serve Krishna in this situation of life? Prabhupada's wife was not cooperating. Prabhupada was not like affected. He was thinking, how can I serve Krishna in this situation of life? Prabhupada, when he went to West also, not everybody was cooperating. So many God brothers and so no. Prabhupada was trying to get help, take help, but no, hardly anybody was giving help. But Prabhupada was not disturbed. Let's continue. Simply concerned, how can I serve Krishna in that situation? So such consciousness Krishna situates oneself in perfect trance and position contacting samadhi. Yes. Text 58. यदा संहरते चायं कुर्मुंगानिव सर्वशः इंद्रियाणि इंद्रियाते व्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. So this is talking about how this pragya sits. Meaning how does he control his senses?
Translation: one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as a tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport: the test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpents, like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots, and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the do nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious persons are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise, who keeps the senses within.
Basically, one should take responsibility of one's senses. Tortoise. I don't know whether you've seen that video. It's a nice video where that lion is trying to, that lioness, tiger is trying to take out the tortoise and kill and eat. But it's completely withdrawn. Nothing she could do. Like that. An unfavorable situation is there, then devotee should be restricting his senses. When he has to engage, then he engages in Krishna consciousness. One should take control. One should be responsible for his senses and mind. विषयाविनी वर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनारस्य वर्धनसोप्यस्य परम दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते.
Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. Purport: unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a deceased person from certain type of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things.
That means you have to withdraw our senses, but you have to also engage in Krishna consciousness. That way, you'll have higher taste. That higher taste is there, then only your restriction is, or your stability in Krishna consciousness will be there. Only just refraining won't help for long. And that's why one should strive to develop higher taste. And higher taste comes by deliberately engaging in Krishna's service, in Krishna conscious engagements. Like when you're reading for 2 hours like this, that will give you some taste for reading Gita. Next time when you read Gita, it will be more easy. You'll have some good impression. You have already read and you have already understood some things. So you'll have some taste for it. So more same with the chanting, you do so, you get up in the morning. So you should do that. Like when you get up in the morning, 4 a.m., you chant 2 hours every day. Then you'll develop taste in chanting. So anything you want to develop taste, you have to do it nicely. Put that fixed time and do it properly, continuously, for a long period of time. You develop taste because by nature, Krishna consciousness is bliss producing. It gives bliss. It will bound to give you some taste. Krishna manifests as you do it sincerely. The problem why we don't develop taste because when we don't do it properly, we commit offenses. We don't do it properly. We do haphazardly. We don't do it regularly. We don't make our schedules good. So we have to do it with great eagerness and nicely, prolonged period of time. Then you'll develop taste. And when you develop taste for Krishna consciousness, not only for the dead material activities, you will not have taste. So that is the best method of making progress and remaining steady in Krishna consciousness. यततो हि अपि कान्तेया पुरुषस्य विपश्यतः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः. Translation. Virat Prabhu.
Translation: the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. Purport: there are many learned sages, philosophers, and transcendentalists who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavors, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim to material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. When Vishwamitra, a great sage and perfect yogi, was misled by Minika into sex enjoyment, although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penances and yoga practice. And of course, there are so many similar instances in the history of the world. Therefore, it is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. Without engaging the mind in Krishna, one cannot seize such material engagements. A practical example is given by Sri Yamunacharya, a great saint and devotee who says,
यदवधि मम चेत कृष्ण पदारविन्दे नव नवरसधाम नियुध्यतुं तन्तुमासीत् तदवधि पतनारि संगमे स्मर्यमाने भवति मुखा विकारा सुष्ठु निष्ठीवनं च.
since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I've been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the floor. Krishna consciousness is such a transcendental nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. It is as if a hungry man had satisfied his hunger by a sufficient quantity of nutritious eatables. Maharaja Ambarisa also conquered a great yogi, Durvasa Muni, simply because his mind was engaged in Krishna consciousness.
कृष्ण पदारविन्दे राचांस्य कुण्डगुणानुवादे. Can you just read till 63? The Krishna consciousness is so nice, you can see, because when he's naturally satisfied, feeling full, so he will not go for any sense gratificating things naturally. So that is the formula. So get more higher taste, get more engaged in Krishna's service, Krishna consciousness. So become a very good practitioner, bro. It's very, very vital. The more you read, hear, get up in the morning, do Mangalarti, chant, make yourself very good, sincere practice, sincere, genuine, and intense practice. Then, because you're engaging in Krishna very nicely, then you can easily cease material engagements. Because you're feeling some kind of transcendental happiness with it. That then you don't you will not be so externally oriented. You have more strength to say no. to Maya, unnecessary engagements. Like here, Yamunacharya is able to spit at the very top. So that is because of his fullness in Krishna consciousness. It's such a transitory nice thing. Automatic material enjoyment becomes distasteful. Hungry man is satisfied. Then you don't look for hawkers in the street, selling so many pakoras because you're full. Nice prasadam you have taken. Like that. That's why we should become very serious practitioners. All troubles in our Krishna consciousness because we don't practice it properly. We don't seriously practice. We do dhila dhara practice. Casual practice. That's a problem. Okay, I think we'll pause here. I don't want to take further. Any reflection finally? All of you can tell one point. Yes. Robert Prabhu, Virat Prabhu, Prashant Prabhu, Praveen Prabhu, one point can you say?
Yeah. Thank
Overall,
you.
yeah. Yes,
Hare
Robert.
Krishna.
What is your experience and reflection on the overall reading session? 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
What happened? You're taking a rest or what?
Oh, yep. Just on the train.
You got down from train?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Newburyport now.
Put
So just
your
getting off the
video on.
train.
Put your video on. Where are you? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's at the train station.
okay. So you have any reflection? Any point you want to say?
I liked the just focusing on God and
Unmute yourself. Oh,
let me see. I took a photo. It was the
reflection.
part there was I guess I like the idea of abandoning attachment to success or failure and just kind of being in like what is the meaning of yoga as like concentrating on the supreme. So because I'm often very focused on like success and like financial success, and it's very frustrating. But I like the idea of just focusing on the supreme.
Yeah. So you are coming for New India, West Virginia, Robert?
What was that?
You're able to come for the West Virginia?
Oh yeah, send me the info about that, but I'll try to come to the temple soon.